The tires of my rental car crunched against the gravel of my driveway as I pulled up to my house on Maple Lane after a grueling week at a forensics conference in Chicago. I'm James Carter, a 52-year-old detective with the Riverton Police Department, and all I wanted was to kick back on my couch with a cold beer and leave bloodstain patterns and fingerprint analysis behind for a night. But the moment I stepped through my front door, that dream vanished. The stench hit me first, a rancid mix of stale burgers, unwashed clothes, and something I can only describe as despair. My polished oak floors, which I'd spent hours cleaning before my trip, were littered with fast food wrappers, soda cans, and what looked like ground-in dirt. My living room resembled a landfill after a storm. The 65-inch TV blared a reality show, its volume maxed out. Dirty plates with rotting food scraps sat on my coffee table, buzzing with flies. My leather sofa bore mysterious stains, and burn-marked cigarette, or worse, scarred my carpet. What in the hell? I muttered, my duffel bag hitting the floor with a thud. Heavy footsteps echoed from below, coming from my basement private sanctuary, a converted office and man cave with high-end electronics, a stock bar, and custom furniture. My blood boiled as I descended the stairs, hand twitching where my service weapon usually sat. What I found was beyond infuriating. Lounging on my Italian leather sectional like some kind of slob royalty was Tommy Reynolds, the 25-year-old deadbeat son of my neighbor, Susan Reynolds. His stringy brown hair was matted with grease, his face smeared with burger sauce. He wore my gym shorts and my favorite Superman tee, now stretched and stained with ketchup and who knows what. A half-eaten burger sat in his hand, surrounded by crumpled wrappers and empty beer bottles. His filthy feet, caked with grime, rested on my glass coffee table, leaving smudges that made my stomach churn. "Hey, Mr. Carter," Tommy said, chewing loudly, as if he owned the place. "Didn't expect you back so soon. Mom said you'd be gone for, 2 weeks. I stood frozen, grappling with his audacity. This wasn't just trespassing, it was a full-scale invasion. My basement looked like a frat house after a bender. Comic books littered my pool table, video game controllers were strewn across my bar, and my clothes were scattered everywhere, most visibly soiled. My mini fridge stood open, gutted, with empty cans rolling on the floor. My $800 pool cue lay beside Tommy, scratched and misused as a back-scratcher. "Tommy," I said, my voice low and dangerous, honed by years of interrogating criminals. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" He had the gall to look annoyed. "Chill, man. Mom said it was fine. She's got keys and everything. Said you two worked it out." He took another bite of his burger, crumbs falling onto my couch. "Worked it out?" I growled. "She said what?" "Yeah, dude," he continued, oblivious to my rage. "She said you're never here, always off playing big shot cop. I'm trying to get independent, you know? This is like my own place, but free." He waved his burger around like he was showcasing a penthouse. The casual dismissal of my life's work me home, my property hit me like a punch. I closed my eyes, counting to 10, then 20, to keep from dragging him out by his greasy hair. "Tommy," I said, my voice now a deadly whisper, "I never agreed to this. You're trespassing. You're stealing. You're destroying my property. Do you understand that? Or do I need simpler words?" His face twisted in confusion, like I'd spoken in code. Then, in a flash, he stood, all 300 pounds of him pointing a ketchup-stained finger at me. "Don't come at me with that cop attitude. I've got rights. I've been here 6 days. That makes me a tenant." The sheer stupidity of his logic snapped something in me. 6 days? I stepped closer, watching fear flicker in his eyes despite his bravado. "You're a criminal, Tommy. There's nothing legal about this." "I'm not going anywhere," he shouted, spit flying. "This is my place now. Mom said you don't even use it." I pointed to the wreckage around us, grease stains, burn marks, trash. "Not hurting anybody. You've destroyed thousands of dollars worth of my stuff, eaten my food, worn my clothes, and turned my basement into a pigsty." Tommy took a step toward me, fists clenched. "Back off, man. I'm trying to get my life together. Mom set this up for me." That's when he made his worst mistake. Screaming about showing me who's boss, he lunged, swinging wildly. I sidestepped easily. 20 years as a cop had me in better shape than this burger-fueled man-child. My elbow connected with his gut, dropping him to his knees, gasping. I grabbed my pool cue, tempted to use it, but settled for a verbal lashing. You think you can attack me in my own house? Before I could finish, the basement door slammed open. Susan Reynolds stormed down the stairs, her blonde hair a wild mess, her leopard print tracksuit stretched tight. "Get your hands off my son, you monster!" she shrieked, rushing toward us. I released Tommy, who scurried to her like a scolded puppy. "Susan," I said, barely containing my fury, "your son attacked me after squatting in my house for a week. We're going to talk about what happens next." But Susan wasn't interested in reason. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "I need police now," she cried, her voice shrill. "A man is threatening my son. He's violent and aggressive." She paused, then added, "He's black, about 6 feet, probably armed." My blood pressure spiked. I'm a detective with the very department she was calling, and here she was, painting me as the villain in my own home. "Susan, hang up," I said, my voice tight. "This is my house. You're trespassing." "Don't tell me what to do," she snapped, then switched to a victimized whimper for the dispatcher. "He's attacking us. My son was just living peacefully." Tommy chimed in, clutching my pool cue. "Yeah, he came at me for no reason." The dispatcher's voice crackled. "Is there a weapon involved?" Susan's eyes gleamed. "Yes, he's a cop. He probably has a gun." I held up my empty hands, but Susan was in full performance mode, describing me as a dangerous intruder. Sirens wailed in the distance, and I braced for the humiliation of my colleagues arriving at this circus. 3 officers, Martinez, Lee, and Garcia, stormed down the stairs, hands on their holsters. Martinez, a guy I'd worked cases with, blinked at me. "Detective Carter? What's going on?" Susan launched into her tale, claiming I'd attacked her son. Martinez cut her off. "Ma'am, Detective Carter is a cop. This is his house." Susan paled. Tommy's grip on the pool cue faltered. I explained. I'd been away for a week, only to find Susan had broken in and moved her son into my basement. Susan stammered about HOA responsibilities and helping because my house was empty. Martinez wasn't buying it. "Do you have permission to be here?" "Well, no," Susan admitted. "But he's never home." Lee, jotting notes, said, "Ma'am, that's breaking." That's when Tommy panicked. Dropping the pool cue, he yelled, "I'm not going to jail," and lumbered toward the tiny basement window. What followed was pure chaos. Tommy, all 300 pounds, tried to squeeze through an 18-inch window, getting stuck halfway. His legs flailed inside while his head and shoulders protruded outside, his Superman tee riding up to reveal more than anyone wanted to see. Susan wailed, "Bradley, stop. You're making it worse." The officers tried to intervene, but Tommy was wedged tight. Martinez called for backup, and soon, my quiet street was a spectacle: fire trucks, an ambulance, and neighbors gawking. Mrs. Thompson from across the street sipped coffee, watching like it was a reality show. The fire department, led by Captain Sullivan, arrived with dish soap and a hydraulic spreader. After 45 minutes of soap, tools, and Tommy's whimpering, they freed him with a soapy thud onto the grass. The crowd applauded. Susan fussed over him, oblivious to the absurdity. Martinez turned to me. "Charges. Book them," I said. Susan, for breaking, burglary, and false statements. Tommy for trespassing, theft, and resisting. At the Riverton County Courthouse, the trial was a spectacle. My security footage showed Susan using a copied key to let Tommy in, even making herself a sandwich from my fridge. Susan's lawyer, a bargain bin attorney named Harold Vance, tried to paint me as a racist who'd entrapped them by being away. Susan claimed my house was an eyesore and that she was helping by moving Tommy in. Judge Margaret Ellis, a no-nonsense veteran, wasn't impressed. "You moved your son into Detective Carter's home without permission because he travels for work." Susan doubled down, shockingly claiming I didn't deserve my house due to special treatment. The courtroom gasped. Even her lawyer looked horrified. Judge Ellis's voice was ice. "Are you suggesting Detective Carter's home ownership is undeserved because of his race?" Susan's rambling about hard-working people, like her son, only dug her deeper. Tommy, slouched in his chair, mumbled about the economy when asked about his lack of a job. The prosecutor, Emily Grant, dismantled their defense with glee, presenting my footage and Susan's 911 lies. The verdict was swift. Susan got 6 months in jail, 2 years probation, and full restitution. Tommy got 3 months, 2 years probation, and mandatory job training. Susan's racist remarks made headlines, costing her her HOA seat and her reputation. 3 neighbors put their houses up for sale to avoid her. Tommy, surprisingly, got a warehouse job and stuck with it. Weeks later, I sat in my renovated basement, sipping a craft beer. The insurance covered repairs, and I'd upgraded with a new TV and security system. My phone buzzed a text from Tommy. "Mr. Carter, I'm sorry. Mom said not to apologize, but I know we were wrong. Thanks for not pushing harder charges. I'm trying to do better." I replied, "Apologies matter when you're wrong. Keep working, Tommy. Make better choices." Raising my beer, I toasted my peaceful basement. Justice had been served not just through the law, but through the public unraveling of Susan's entitlement. My home was mine again, and Maple Lane was quieter without her schemes. What do you think, folks? Was I too harsh pressing charges, or did Susan and Tommy deserve it? How would you handle such an invasion of your space? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about justice, entitlement, and standing up to wrongs in our lives. Your perspective matters.